New revelations about Trump's would-be assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks, which we'll get into in a minute. But first, something very strange is going on with the official FBI story around Trump's assassination attempt, and their ongoing stonewalling of releasing this information. So we have some new information today that I want to go over. So let's look at this. Crooks' autopsy was allegedly performed on July 14th. We know that because the medical examiner's report that shows us the date right there, July 14th. Right there on your screen. Now, of course, as you see here, the official autopsy wasn't signed, though, until August 5th. So that discrepancy has stood out to me for a little while, and I'm still stunned as to why exactly that is the case, because this date is going to become very important in a moment. They performed the autopsy, allegedly, literally the day after the attempted assassination on President Trump. But here's where it goes from suspicious to outright insane. Thomas Crooks's body was then, of course, allegedly cremated on or around July 23rd, just 10 days after the shooting. And the FBI then had full custody of the body the entire time. As Tucker Carlson reported in his new documentary that he just dropped late last week, they released it for cremation before the public, of course, knew about it. And this is the key, before Congressman Clay Higgins even got a chance to view the body on August 5th when he arrived in town. Watch.
Congressman Clay Higgins of Louisiana, a former police officer, traveled to Butler to conduct his own investigation into what happened. When he arrived, he discovered a disturbing fact. The FBI released Crooks's body for cremation 10 days after July 13th. This wasn't known to the public until Higgins arrived in Butler on August 5th, when the coroner told the congressman, quote, he would never have released Crooks's body to the family for cremation or burial without specific permission from the FBI. The timing of Crooks's cremation is notable. The day Crooks's body was burned was also the day the House Homeland Security and Oversight Committees had begun their investigations into the shooting. The fact the body was cremated made it impossible for investigators outside the FBI to verify the coroner and autopsy report. You can't do a new tox screen because the body doesn't exist.
So Higgins found out, of course, when he got there in early August that the body was gone. It was burned. And interestingly, on July 19th, Senator Josh Hawley came to town. So the heat was on at the time. Here was his post on July 20th. Here I am standing about where President Trump was on that day, and you can see the low-slung building, et cetera, et cetera. So you can see the timestamp there. He posted these the day after he was there on July 19th. And turns out, according to Senator Josh Hawley, the FBI was pissed. They were not happy that senators were showing up there. The FBI was pissed at Senator Hawley for even being there. Senator Hawley said the FBI wouldn't let him examine the water tower. And they asked his team to leave the area. They demanded my team leave. The American people deserve the truth, and we will get it. We need answers, but the FBI didn't want me there. Okay. Did Hawley also ask to see the body of Crooks on July 19th? That's unclear, and we're trying to get some answers on that. We're trying to get some more answers from Senator Hawley's office on that particular point. Was it only Congressman Higgins that asked on August 5th when he arrived? So did Senator Hawley on the 19th ask to do that? Because at that point, according to the official documents, his body was still there. The FBI still had authority over his body, and it hadn't yet been cremated. So, whoa, Senator Hawley is sniffing around town. We better get this body burned before anyone else comes to town. And then Higgins comes to town, and that's already burned, gone. The chief medical examiner, Dr. Goldschmidt, sworn testimony confirms the body was released on July 22nd. During Goldschmidt's testimony, he said, quote, and you can see here in his opening statement, and he addresses the committee on this, lays out who he is, the chief medical examiner for Allegheny County in Pennsylvania. But towards the bottom of his statement, he says this: once I received the results of the toxicology testing, which was performed by our laboratory, I completed a written autopsy report, which was signed and delivered to Butler County. Our office's involvement in the case concluded on July 22nd, when Mr. Crooks' body was released to a funeral home, pursuant to the directives of the Butler County coroner. So he says He signed that document on the 22nd. That his office, when they concluded their autopsy report, said they concluded and had signed it on the 22nd. So was he lying to Congress? Because as you see, the autopsy date was the 14th. If he concluded it on the 22nd, then why does it say August 5th? Why was it not signed until after his body was cremated? Okay. It's interesting. And the kicker in all of this, though, is you have this delay. Why this weird delay? Why this weird delay? And why the quick destruction of this body when we still hadn't concluded any kind of investigation? Why the delay? What were they doing in that gap of time? That's what I'd like to know. Why cremate the body before the autopsy was even finalized? Because if August 5th is when you're officially signing that it was completed, then why burn the body on the 23rd? Like, what were you doing in those subsequent 2 weeks? And why did the FBI wipe the crime scene completely clean the next day? As you know, of course, the FBI photos of the FBI guys on the rooftop spraying hose water down to get rid of all of the blood and tissue on the top of the roof. It's very odd. Why would you do that so quickly after? The next day. The next day, you're cleaning up the crime scene. And then when Josh Hawley is sniffing around, you have a problem with him sniffing around. You can't go up on that water tower. You can't examine that. You can't look at that. Get out of here. A sitting U.S. senator? Okay. So the autopsy says Crooks was shot in the mouth and through his head. So there would have been blood on that roof. There would have been tissue samples. Does the FBI have that? Do they have those samples? You know, as Tucker asked in his documentary, when they were doing the autopsy, did they take spinal fluid? Did they take brain tissue samples? Did they take all of those pieces as well, which would be a part of any normal investigation like this? So you could confirm blood samples and DNA? Do they have it? So none of this adds up unless, of course, you assume the thing that they wanted most was for no one, including Clay Higgins, to ever see that body. And remember the photos taken of the autopsy. At the autopsy, they've still never been released. We've never seen those either. And by the way, we also learned from Dr. Goldschmidt that there were handprints taken of Thomas Crooks. Dr. Goldschmidt says those were taken before he even received the body. And he was confirmed that those had been taken. I guess you would see that there's ink on the hand, but he was told and they were, so we have handprints. So therefore, then we have fingerprints as well. But of course, we haven't received any of this information. And as Tucker pointed out in his documentary, Kash Patel said we'd get that info during the trial. They didn't want to run ahead of the trial. But what trial? Trial are you talking about? Crooks is dead. So who's going to be held? Like, when is this trial going to happen, by the way? And who's going to be tried? I would really like to know who's going to be tried in all of this. What trial exactly are we talking about? And then Miranda Devine this morning explaining how the FBI and Secret Service butchered this investigation from day one and how they hid information about his online presence. And according to her sources, in a new bombshell today, Crooks had a furry fetish and was into exploring gender identity. Quoting her piece, like alleged Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson, Crooks appeared to have been interested in furries and exploring gender identity. He described himself with the pronouns they, them on the platform known as DeviantArt, which is one of the biggest online hubs for furry art and furry community. Two accounts linked to Crooks' primary email were found on DeviantArt under usernames Epic Microwave and the Epic Microwave. The account suggests he had an obsession with scantily clad cartoon characters sporting muscle-bound male bodies and female heads. Okay. So, yeah, he was wondering, like, is that part of, like, some sort of a psychological operation? Or is that, is this really who this kid was? Because at first, he, years ago, he was saying kill Democrats. Then he completely switched and became like kind of a violent leftist. So what is it now? Now he's a furry, like a transgender furry? So Tucker says the FBI does not want the public to see Crooks's online footprint, the videos, the comments, the Google Drive folders, the violent material, and that their public statements claiming the kid left no evidence of motive are just simply not true. They're total lies. And the FBI knew this. So why were they lying to us? And now you combine that with the physical evidence timeline, autopsy July 14th, the body released on July 22nd, cremated the next day on the 23rd immediately. Crime scene erased 24 hours after the event, hosed down by the FBI, and the autopsy not even signed until August 5th, almost 2 weeks after the body was burned. Then a senator shows up demanding answers, and the number one piece of evidence is already ash. It's already gone. It's already disappeared. So all that to say, where do things stand now with this? The FBI is still stonewalling. They did come out and try to release some information after Tucker's documentary, but it was basically admitting that they had been lying to us. So, you have to look at some people saying, okay, this wasn't his body at all, that this was this guy, Yerrick, that it was not Matthew Crooks at all. It's a totally different body. What body was burned that day? There are some people believe, and sources I've spoken to here at Redacted, who believe that it wasn't Thomas Matthew Crooks' body cremated at all. It was a totally different body.
Well, and that would track based on how fast they did it. Like if it was his body, right? Then why would they cremate it so fast? That just shows there's something to hide there. It's not like they were going to do any, like identifiers for specific things, but like the body itself. Like, just show us the body itself so they can verify that it was indeed him.
Or shows the autopsy photos, which you apparently have. I mean, you take photos during an autopsy. We also have his handprints, right? So we could verify those as fingerprints. None of it. And then on top of it, of course, the quick move to blame Iran for these attacks. Very quick. And of course, he was searching online for Jack Ruby. So how do you want to cover up a patsy story as quickly as you possibly can? Well, have this guy get shot and killed immediately, and then you clean up the crime scene. You clean up everything as quickly as you can, so that we can't question anything. And it's Iran. Of course, that story. That's the thing I think with now with social media and with us being so aware of these false flags, that we immediately said that was total bullshit. There's zero evidence that Iran had anything to do with it. Roger Stone, friend of the president, came right out and said that that's a lie. Iran has nothing to do with this, and if you believe that, you're an idiot. But of course, they wanted us to believe it because, hey, that helps us get into a regime change war in Iran pretty quickly after that. And if you think, we would never do that, we did a few months later. So, yeah, that was coming whether, I guess, he was shot or not, and whether this whole story panned out or not. So, I'm just hoping the FBI, this FBI has been under Kash Patel's leadership, has been incredibly problematic. And I can only hope that there is some move for transparency on this. We've reached out to Senator Hawley's office on this, so I hope we get a response. And if we do, we will share it with you here on the show. All right, we got more news.
It appears Kash Patel's girlfriend's going to get more protection than the president had on that day.
Yeah, so she now has an FBI SWAT team protection. We just learned this. Actually, I don't think we just learned this. I think Kyle Seraphin, friend of the show Kyle Seraphin, back on October 7th of this year, told us that she was already getting special protection by the FBI almost a month ago. Now the mainstream media is reporting it, and they forget that Kyle reported this like a month ago. Anyway, that's how it usually works. It's like, the New York Times is reporting it. Say, oh, really? Okay. What about all of us like alternative media who were also reporting it a year before you got your hands on it? And then now it's like, the New York Times is reporting it. Oh, really? Interesting. So, yeah, so his girlfriend will have extra protection now. The country music sensation that she is.